So welcome back to the second part of our discussion, that is osmoregulation. In last part we saw that how that hyperosmolar gradient, medullary gradient is maintained. The requirement was what? For mechanism to operate, mechanism of urine concentration and dilution was what were requirement? First requirement was hyperosmolar medullary concentration, that is hyperosmolar medullary gradient. Let's see. Say this is cortex. Let's revise. This is cortex. Just right here. Cortex. Then say this is medulla, outer medulla, and this is inner medulla. And here it is papilla. This you say outer medulla, and this is inner medulla. This is inner medulla. So we saw structure of nephron here, that glomerulus, then proximal convoluted tubule, then this is loop of Henle, and then this loop of Henle, the thick limb of loop of Henle is there. Then I'll just draw this thinner part, this is thinner part, and then that goes to thick loop of Henle, and then distal convoluted tubule, and then collecting duct, which is going to what? Papilla. Here it is papilla. Here it is what? Papilla. Okay. Now we saw how this hyperosmotic gradient is maintained. That is, medulla should be hyperosmolar. We saw hyperosmotic gradient is maintained here. Say it is 300 in cortex, then it goes to 400, then it goes to 600, 800, then 1000, then it goes to 1200. Like this, hyperosmotic gradient is maintained. What we call is corticomedullary hyperosmotic gradient, and this gradient is maintained. This gradient is created by what? This countercurrent, the countercurrent multiplier. The countercurrent multiplier is what? Loop of Henle. The loop of Henle, descending limb and ascending limb. So we saw in last lecture this countercurrent multiplier, and this is first requirement for what? Mechanism of urine concentration and dilution, that is osmoregulation. The first requirement is countercurrent multiplier. We discussed in last lecture. So the second thing which is responsible to create this hyperosmolarity in medulla, hyperosmolar medullary gradient, is urea recycling. In the beginning I told you the second thing which is responsible for this hyperosmolar gradient is urea recycling. Let's see how it is done now in urea recycling. Say when the glomerular filtrate, or when urine is going to excrete here it will be urine. When glomerular filtrate is coming here in proximal convoluted tubule, whether urea is reabsorbed? No, urea is not reabsorbed. When it is coming to loop of Henle, urea is reabsorbed there? No, here it is water which is reabsorbed in descending limb. In ascending limb, solutes are reabsorbed, but whether urea is reabsorbed here? No, urea is not still reabsorbed here. It is neither reabsorbed in loop of Henle nor in DCT, not in initial part of collecting duct. That means this all part, this complete part from here to here, it is what? It is not permeable for urea. Urea impermeable. You can say urea is not filtered here. I am not writing here. Urea is not getting reabsorbed here. There is no permeability for urea. So what will happen? Urea will be concentrated in the last part of the filtrate, that is urine. Just before urine is formed, urea will be what? Concentrated here. But at the last part of this collecting tubule, there are some transporter for urea. Before reaching to papilla, this collecting tubule has some transporter for urea called urea transporter. And this urea transporter reabsorb urea here. The urea gets reabsorbed here. So this urea is getting reabsorbed before reaching to papilla in the last part of the collecting duct. This part is in medulla. The last part of collecting duct is in medulla. So this is inner medulla. So here there are urea transporter. Now this urea is getting reabsorbed here, but when this urea is coming to this interstitium, here it is what? Here it is interstitial fluid. Here it is total interstitium. So when this urea is coming to interstitium, this urea is reabsorbed, or you can say this urea is reabsorbed in what? Thin part of ascending limb. This is thin part of ascending limb of loop of Henle, and descending limb of some part of descending limb of loop of Henle. Okay. So what? This urea is getting out through this transporter in what part? In interstitium, in interstitial medulla. And interstitial medulla is what? Already hyperosmolar. Will it add to? Urea is what? Solute. Will it add to osmolarity or will it not add to osmolarity? It will add to osmolarity. This add to osmolarity of this interstitial medulla, because interstitial medulla is already hyperosmolar because of this counter current multiplier mechanism. But the urea transporter are transporting urea out, and that urea is getting concentrated into medullary interstitial space, where it is adding to hyperosmolarity. It adds to 30 to 40% to this hyperosmolarity. So this hyperosmolarity is helped by urea to be created. Urea is not creating the hyperosmolarity alone. It is created by counter current multiplier. But urea is adding to hyperosmolarity, 32% hyperosmolarity, by getting out through this distal converted tubule through urea transporter into interstitial medullary space. Is it clear? Now this urea will be getting to this thin part of ascending limb and this descending limb. So it will be reabsorbed here from interstitial space. It will be reabsorbed. That is, you can say it is secreted back there. It is secreted, not reabsorbed. Reabsorption is in blood. So it is secreted there, and again it will be carried where? To distal converted tubule. This secreted will be carried to, this will be carried to what? Distal converted tubule. Again from distal converted tubule it will come to interstitium, adding to hyperosmolarity, and then will be secreted to thin part of ascending limb and descending limb, and then again will reach here. Like this, the urea recycling is being done. It's called urea recycling. This is urea coming and getting reabsorbed or secreted to thin part of ascending limb and descending limb, and then coming back to distal convoluted tubule, the collecting duct, coming to collecting duct, and then it is again reabsorbed or secreted in what? Ascending limb. Which part of ascending? Thin part, and descending limb of loop of Henle. Okay, thin part of ascending limb, descending limb, and this way urea recycling is adding to what? 30 to 40% in hyperosmolarity of medullary interstitium. Is it clear till now? So this way urea recycling and counter current multiplier is creating what? Is creating this hyperosmolar gradient, medullary gradient, which is required for osmoregulation, because unless this hyperosmolar gradient will not be there, if there is no hyperosmolar gradient, no water will be reabsorbed and urine cannot be concentrated. That means osmoregulation requires this basic mechanism, that is counter current multiplier, that is multiplication of hyperosmolar gradient as well as urea recycling, which is adding to 30 to 40% in hyperosmolarity of this medullary interstitium. Now this is about creation of this hyperosmolarity. This is about creation of this hyperosmolarity. Now this hyperosmolarity should not be lost. This hyperosmolarity should be maintained. Then there is another mechanism. The mechanism by the means of Vasa Recta. This is Vasa third. If you remember the third, or you can say second, because first was hyperosmolarity of medullary interstitium, that was created with counter current multiplier and urea recycling, And the second, to maintain this hyperosmolarity, it is Vasa Recta. Vasa Recta, also called as countercurrent exchanger. Countercurrent exchanger. Let's see how this countercurrent exchanger works. I'll redraw this cortex here again. Say this is cortex, this is outer medulla, this is inner medulla, and then there is papilla. This is cortex. Cortex, outer medulla, and this is inner medulla. Again we will draw our friend, that is nephron, the basic functional unit. Let's see, this is nephron, this is what proximal convoluted tubule, then descending and then ascending, then distal convoluted and then collecting duct. Okay, just like this is thinner part, and then it gets to thicker part. We'll have to draw this thick, and this goes thicker here, and this is thicker here. This is thicker part, and then it's again add to this is distal convoluted. Okay, I'm drawing roughly just to make your concept clear. Now I will have to make some space here. Okay, now here this part is involved in what? Countercurrent multiplication, multiplier, where the osmolarity gradient is being maintained. Say 300, again 400, then 600, 800, 1000, 1200, like this. Okay, now there is another structure which is made by capillary loop. The capillaries coming to this nephron make loop like structure which is parallel. Which structure is parallel to this loop of Henle? I'll draw it with different color. This is capillary loop. The capillary loop, this is loop like structure. Loop like structure. This is capillary loop. Okay, and this capillary loop, which is parallel to loop of Henle as well as to collecting duct, is called Vasa Recta. Vasa means made up of vessel. Recta means network. The network which is made up of vessel, and this is what capillary loop and Vasa Recta. Okay, now blood enters to this Vasa Recta with the osmolarity of what? 300 milliosmol. What is the osmolarity of blood? It is 300 milliosmol per liter. But what is external interstitial gradient or osmolar gradient here? It is rising, right, from 300 to 1200. It goes up to what? 1200 here, 1200, it is 1000, okay, it is 800, like this, it is rising. So say when it comes in contact, this 300 milliosmolar per liter osmolarity blood, which is entering to which limb? This is the descending limb of Vasa Recta. This is loop, capillary loop, with ascending and descending limb. When this blood is coming to descending limb of capillary loop, will it be having similar osmolarity outside? No, because this interstitium has osmolarity rising from upward to downward. It is 400 here, then it is 600 here, then it is 800 here, then it is 1000 here, then it is 1200 here. So the osmolarity is rising. So the blood entering here in descending limb of Vasa Recta will find hyperosmolarity outside. So this Vasa Recta is permeable to water and sodium both. The loops or the walls of this Vasa Recta are permeable to water and sodium both. So it will try to match what? Osmolarity with the external interstitium. Now the osmolarity to be matched, what will it do? It is permeable to sodium as well and water as well. What will it do? It will lose what? It will gain water. It will gain water here and lose sodium. It is going to lose sodium here. Sorry, it is going to lose water, not gain water. it will lose water here, it will lose water. Okay, to become hyperosmolar, it will lose water and will get what? Sodium. Will gain sodium. It is permeable to sodium and water both. So it will what? It will lose water and it will gain sodium. It will gain sodium. In which part? In this. That is ascending limb. In ascending limb it will, descending limb it will lose water and get sodium. But when it will come to the lowest part of this ascending limb, it will be in similar osmolarity, that is 1200 here. But when it will go to the ascending limb again, then osmolarity of the interstitium will go on decreasing. External interstitium will go on decreasing when it will go back to the ascending limb. Okay, when it is coming, the blood is coming from descending limb, osmolarity is going to increase because osmolarity in interstitium is more, progressively more. So the osmolarity will go on increasing, but when going to ascending limb, the osmolarity is going on decreasing. So what will it do? It will do opposite, exactly opposite. It will what? It will gain water. It will gain water and it will lose sodium. Okay, to become more and more, here to become more and more hyposmolar, and here it to become more and more hyperosmolar. So it's like I'll give some example. For example, one person is going with bicycle, having a lot of space on bicycle to some, like say it is some upward slope to a rising slope. Okay, he thinks that here it is end. Okay, so he has many precious thing with him. So he many precious thing with him. I think I should draw it. So he is going to downward slope. Say he is the very happy person with the bicycle, or he is the person who feels he is very strong person and he can get with any amount of stuff with him. So he is bringing a lot of precious thing with him. One by one he is getting many precious thing here. Say on this is road. Okay, so he thinks that there are some gold here, and there are some platinum, very precious things are here. Here there is some diamond. Okay, heavier things are there. So he go on collecting all the things. Okay, lots of things with him. And here it is what? Downsloping area. So it does not require any energy to take out all those stuff. He can go with lots of stuff on his shoulder. But when he comes here, he sees that there is what? There is upslope now. There is lot of part to climb up now. So he requires lot of energy here. So what will he do? He will go on throwing all the stuff he has collected here. He will go on throwing all the stuff. He is very sad here. He is happy. Say he is happy here by looking, but he is very sad here now. He is very sad here because he has to throw all the stuff to go upward. Okay. Likewise, the blood coming inside has rising hyperosmolar gradient. It goes on rising in its hyperosmolarity. It becomes hyperosmolar here, and again it goes up being hyposmolar, exchanging water and sodium. So whatever amount of water is thrown out and sodium gained, whatever amount of water lost and sodium gained in descending limb, the same amount of water will be lost, water will be reabsorbed and sodium will be lost. So whatever amount of water and sodium, whatever amount of water is lost and sodium is gained, the same amount of water is gained and sodium is lost in different parts. Like in descending limb, water is lost and sodium is gained. In ascending limb, same amount of water is lost, water is gained and sodium is lost. So by making this mechanism, what is happening to the interstitial hyperosmolar gradient is being maintained, because the blood entering with the low osmolarity being hyperosmolar and leaving is not hyperosmolar, leaving is hypoosmolar, because it is giving its osmolarity back to interstitium. It is gaining osmolarity here and it is losing osmolarity here. So this is called counter, that is in opposite direction, counter current flow exchanger. It is exchanging water and sodium in counter current direction. So this osmolarity gradient is what? Maintained here. So to maintain this osmolarity gradient, hyperosmolarity gradient, the blood flow in the Vasa recta is in counter direction. Just like this person is going In downsloping, very happy, is has to go down slope, need not energy, so he's collecting all the precious thing here, and while going up he has to drop one by one all the thing. He's very sad here. Likewise, the blood entering is having some osmolarity which goes on rising, become a hyperosmolar, and then again it has to lose its osmolarity and become hypoosmolar. So blood leaving will be what? Again of the same osmolarity. The venous return will be of same osmolarity from capillary loop. So this capillary loop, that is Vasa Recta, is doing what? It is maintaining this hyperosmolarity. So the Vasa Recta what does what? It maintains this hyperosmolarity of interstitial medulla. So this was what our second requirement, and this is called counter current exchanger. Counter current exchanger, current, that is flow of blood into opposite direction, descending and ascending, so as to exchange water and sodium. In descending part, water is thrown out, sodium is gained. In ascending part, whatever water was thrown out, that water is gained and sodium is thrown out. Whatever sodium was gained here is thrown out here. So this is just exchanging water and sodium. It is called counter current exchanger, which is important to maintain what? Interstitial hyperosmolar gradient. Is it clear till now? Now the last part which was important for our mechanism of urine concentration and dilation was what? Role of ADH. Let's see how ADH affect this mechanism. Okay, we'll come back with short break and then we'll see how ADH gonna affect this mechanism. Okay, thank you.